Do not give in to when you feel panic. There is no need. We feel panic because we have learned, we have trained ourselves to be panic. There is so many things around you that the limited thinking mind cannot make no sense. But it is still trying to make sense because it is under the illusion that it would get security once it's fully understand something, the objects on the wall, the objects around you, the thoughts within, and the people around, the being around. Mind always is in action and trying to make sense out of things, but it has limited capability. Mind is the reflection of the reality, which mind is the reflection of the reality which is being created by divinity, which is being created by sacred. Mind is always one step behind. You cannot think while you perceive. You see, any time a situation which threatens, any time a situation which threatens our safety zone, any time a situation which threatens the cocoon we have built around, even though this body is not going to, even though this body is not going to survive eternity, even though this body is not going to survive forever, you see, but we still have not come to the terms with this fact. You see, the sooner we come to the term with this fact, not theoretically, it's easier to claim, it's easier to verbalize. I would not think like that, you see, but the faith is not there. Faith, not faith outside of your own self. That's not the faith that I am saying, but faith in yourself. Faith that would tell you your free will. And make no mistake, understand this, your free will is your very own self. The fundamental free will is the concrete piece itself. You see, where there is no movement, where there is no struggle, you see. And that is our paradise lost, the fundamental state of us we are trying to claim back. Is still our will, is still our will is not free, because mind is always in action and looking for security. In that security, mind wants to make sense out of everything so it can understand that, but it has limited capability. In the process, the mirror of the reality created by sacred and created by divine, it's the mirror, it's the abstract reality. This is where the demons and devil are coming in the picture. In the process, you, the concrete piece, you, the real, is being abused, something which is not real, something which is not real, something which is abstract reality is abusing the existential reality, which is this. Then we become used to of living in our mind. This process become automatic, and we learn to panic. Other day, the day before yesterday, when I gave you the brief words of truth and wisdom, I told you I would elaborate on something. Unlearn to be panic, unlearn. Being panic is nothing but a conditioning. Being panic, you being panic in any situation that threatens your safety zone, any situation which threatens your cocoon, our cocoon that we have built around us, and we become panic without even realizing and looking at the situation. Our first response to feel panic. You see, not everyone is on the same scale of strength as far as spiritual strength. Not everyone has clarity. When I was young, when I was a child, when I was a kid, I saw this so called family or the man who happened to be my father in this lifetime only. And I hope it's only in this lifetime. The man who happened to be my father in this lifetime only. And as I said, I hope it's only in this lifetime that I witnessed this man. I witnessed basically this man panicking. I was a child, I was young, I was I couldn't make sense out of things, but intuitively I know that he's making a mistake somewhere. I knew that even though I was very young, just a child. But when he panicked, before even he looked into the situation, when he opened his mouth, before even hearing or listening to what the other person is saying, he would respond, he would react without giving himself enough time what's being said. And he would, if in his mind, if it threatened his psychological drama, he would panic. Ooh, this is how I learned. And then the mother, the woman who held me in her womb for 9 months, I saw her being panicked based on her limitation of psychological drama. Then I saw other being panicked. Then I saw all the people being panicked around me, and I learned to panic. In the beginning, I was still not very convinced that I should be panicked, but little by little, everyone is giving into it. I learned to be panicked. Make one thing and cling on that thing at least, no matter what happens. Good thing which brings peace in you, or which gives you hope that it would bring peace in you. No matter what happens, cling to it. You see, do not waste this lifetime. Do not waste this precious carnation, the time between the knot of birth, the time between the knot of birth and death. Do not waste another lifetime learning to live with panic, learning to live with anxiety. These are the disorder of our souls. We all have been there. Every day fight it. Do not, I have heard people saying, I'm just trying to learn with it. Um, you have heard of that show. It's a great show. It's brilliant. You have heard of that show, Monk. What was his name? Tony Shalhoub, Adrian Monk. He played Adrian Monk in that show. The guy is a detective and he has OCD. And he mentioned to somebody, I live with words. Why? You don't have to live with words because you have OCD. It's fictional, obviously. It was a comedy show, but in the end, he brings the result. He may bring the result, but still, he's suffering every second, every moment. I'm making it hypothetically as an example, not he's suffering in a real life. Adrian Monk is a character. Tony Shalhoub played the character. You see, no, you do not learn to live with words. No, you do not torment yourself every second and every moment of your life. You see, you blame everything outside. You blame the neighbor. You blame the politician. You blame the president. You blame the weather. You blame the businesses. You blame economy. Huh? There you want to rebel basically because you do not lie. But within you there is a war going on, waged by demons and devil and mind, and you cannot rebel to that. When it comes down to that point, you say, I am learning to live with it. I am learning to live with anxiety, which puts pressure on your heart when you get panic. And being panic is a conditioning. When you can be conditioned of being panic, if you know, when you can be conditioned of being panic, you can uncondition yourself too. It is very possible. In the beginning, you have become just used to of it. It's simple. You have become used to of anxiety. You have become used to of making sense. You just have become used to of it. You have become used to of anxiety, paranoia, fear, making sense out of it. You have developed an obsession, you see, with the objects and stuff. You have just become used to, for years and years of conditioning, you just have become used to. Now you have come to that point that you do not even see any other way to live. You only know life through an anxiety. Excuse me. You only know life through anxiety, and you come like you are married to anxiety, or like you are making love to the body of anxiety, and you are totally bare in your birthday suit, totally vulnerable, and you surrender to anxiety. You see, it's not even a pretty figure that you would have any pleasure to make love with it. No. My mentor, Don Miguel Ruiz, my mentor, Don Miguel Ruiz, says that humans are addicted to misery. Absolutely true. No matter how hard you look at it, absolutely true. If there is nothing going on, you bring your thought 5 years ago or 10 years ago, but something happened to you or somebody did something to you, and you still wouldn't go and you would sit and cry. You would give in to it because you think something really weird happening. Why am I feeling so light? Why am I feeling at peace? Why am I not panicking? Why am I not feeling anxiety? Why? You freak out when you are at peace because it has become so alien to you and you never bother. I, against of being panicked, I rebelled. I didn't rebel, excuse me, I didn't rebel against all these traits outside of me. Blame the weather, blame the neighbor, complain about president, complain about politician, complain about this and that. No, those are secondary things to complain about. First thing to complain about is what's going on within me. You see, that's what it is. Make one principle which brings concrete peace in you and stand by it. It's worth it. If you did not stand for anything in your entire life, I'm not asking you to find a purpose in your life. You see, if you are so adamant to find a purpose in your life, the purpose of your life becomes to transcend duality, which is transcend karma, which is find happiness without any outside help. If you are so adamant, however, life itself offers no purpose, you see. Suppose life had a purpose, and you fulfilled that purpose, what are you going to stop living now? Suppose life had a purpose and you fulfill that purpose. Are you going to stop living? I'm asking you a question. You don't have to answer me. Keep the answer in your mind and remind yourself when the question arises, the answer is there too. No, you don't stop living yourself. You see, life needs no purpose. Life there is just it is. It's neither good or bad. It is what it is, and you need to face it instead of running away from it, instead of avoiding it in different addictions. You see, no, face it. Make one thing at least and cling to it no matter what happens. Cling to it. For you, say, I will not divert my focus if I intend to do something. Your intention would generate a particular focus to a particular thing, to a particular thought, you know. Your intention maybe is I want to defocus. You see, then you would defocus. But your intention is I want to focus, let's say, on an object. I want to make sense out of an object. I want to create a scenario in my mind with the help of my imagination. A good scenario, not the scenario that you are abusing yourself in the scenario as you do in your mind all the time. I'm not asking you to do that. I'm asking you a good scenario, a beautiful scenario. Maybe the scenario is telling you you have transcended duality. How about that? Huh? Have you thought about that? Maybe the scenario is telling you that you have concrete peace in you, that kind of scenario. So your intention is create, excuse me, your intention is to create a scenario. As soon as your intention is, it requires your focus would follow that intention. You see, I'm telling you what's happening in you, and then when it follows that intention, mind, the abstract reality, the intention within you is real. This is you having an intention. Then mind says, wait a minute, you are my slave. I'm not. No, you are no slave. Mind is your slave. It's always one step behind you. Always. You are the divinity. You are the sacred. You are the source. It is not equal to you. Do not give in to it. Do not give it any power and surrender. It's not even a sweet surrender like I am surrendering. No, it's not a beautiful what the word seductive surrender. It's a creepy surrender to mind. No, you are no slave. You are nobody's slave. There is nobody is out there to enslave you. There is just mind. There is just mind within you which is telling you that. But no, I rebel to this mind which tells me I am the judge. I am in charge. No, you are not in charge. I am going to show you who is in charge here. You see, I keep you in my pocket. I do not let you bother me unnecessarily. You are nobody's in charge. You see, I'm not a human that would be threatened by your imag- imagination you create and fear you try to create in me. I'm not the one. You can go and play these games, and as long as I live and I breathe, I would free humans. I would give them the option. I would tell them there is another way to live in which you are not enslaved by mind. You see, stick to one thing. Have the intention. I would not volunteer my focus in two thoughts at a time. I intend to do something. I would not let because now mind is pulling the super thick rubber band. You know, super thick rubber band. Huh? Does that excite you? The super thick one. You like to see that. So the mind basically is now telling you, mind is pulling the super thick rubber band, you know, the super thick tight one, the brand new one. The more it is pulling the rubber band, the more tension you are feeling. You are the one who is perceiving this. You say, no, I have made a deal with myself. You see, I personally have made a deal with myself, and the deal is I would not share or divert my focus more than one thing at a time. You see, step aside. And no matter what happens, you can listen to the mind. You see, Mayor, I always tell you that I do not ask you to become what the word I am looking for in English. I do not ask you to become oblivious to that. I do not ask you to put your guards down or close your eyes to the significance of mind, which is very tiny, which is very small significance. You see, a little more significance, you go up, you raise the bar. Do you know what happens? A little more significance, you raise the bar and you go up. Now it would say that I am taking the charge. And rest of that, other than the tiny significance it has, rest of that is garbage, recycling, what you already use. 16,000 thought. I was talking to um, a doctor from Harvard University the other day over the phone. It has been a while since I spoke with him. Every now and then we have a conversation. He is a doctor. He qualified from Harvard University. Every now and then I have a chance to sit virtually. He lives in Massachusetts or somewhere, and we perform some meditation and have brief conversation. So he's acquaintance. He's not a friend, but benefit of he gets heck of the benefit out of meditation, and he lives at peace. He mentioned once to me, yes. He mentioned once to me, yes. An average human being, a survey conducted by this university, got 16,000 thoughts in one day. You see, 16,000. 16,000. Obviously, none of those thoughts are new thoughts. This is the recycling, recycling. You see, never stopping because it has no physicality. You do not have to listen just because it's a recycling. It's doing what it is supposed to do. You do what you are supposed to do. Learn to do it first by all. You understand that? So, say this, listen to the content of what it is telling you. It is saying, oh, look, there is that object, and make sense out of it with the limited, make sense out of it with the limited capability, with the limited um, data, which is not possible. You will see through the perspective of mind. If you need to know the limitless, then you need to transcend the mind. I would give you an example. What is mind and what is limitless? You see, I would give you an example. A timer is here. This, see, this timer. So if I am not looking the front side of the timer, which you are facing, if you understand, if I am not looking the front of the timer, which you are facing, if I am just looking the back of the timer, does this mean the front is not existing? Do you understand? Are you following me? I am just looking at the back of the timer. You see, um, it is not the limitation of awareness what you essentially are. It is the limitation of mind which is limited. Now you understand what I am saying. Through the When you look everything through the perspective of mind, you are always limited. You see, because it's not the limitation of the timer. Timer has front and back. You see, I'm making it elaborating. Timer has front and timer has back. Front, back, both. And through the perspective of mind, when you perceive this, and if you are not facing the front of the timer, you can only see the back of the timer because mind is limited. Very simple. I just elaborated through an example, very simple. So, this is what the limitation of mind. But awareness, if you raise and you go beyond, you transcend the mind, you can see. without even looking at it. You can see without even looking at it this whole thing in all dimension in one moment. Through the perspective of mind, you cannot capture this object through every perspective in one time. You what I'm saying? You cannot capture this object in every dimension in one moment. You cannot, because it's the limitation of the mind. But once you raise your awareness and transcend the mind, you know everything. You heard of Swami Vivekananda? Swami Vivekananda was a Hindu, you see. If you heard of Swami Vivekananda was a Hindu monk, you see. Obviously, name Swami Vivekananda. Swami is a title, a Hindu holy name. Vivekananda was not his name. His awareness was so heightened that it was piercing, you see, piercing. Swami Vivekananda visited America in late 1800. Then he was coming back and he stopped at Germany, you know. And whenever he was traveling, and he spoke with a German philosopher. And the German philosopher basically, he spoke with a German philosopher, and the German philosopher were having a dinner. Excuse me, the German philosopher was having a dinner with Vivekananda. Uh, and he was bragging, that's the word I'm looking for. He was bragging about a book which was in German language. And Vivekananda was never exposed to German language. He spoke brilliant English and Hindi and Bengali. So Vivekananda said after the dinner, "Give me the book." And the German philosopher said, "Are you joking with me? Are you mocking me?" Or any number of those things. You speak good, brilliant English and your native language, but you are never exposed to German, a language. You do not know the language. You have no comprehension of the language. You see, you were not exposed to language ever. How are you going to, what are you going to find out while you don't know the language? And Vivekananda looked into his eyes, you know. Vivekananda looked into his eyes and said, after the dinner, give me the book and leave me with the book for 1 hour. Now, the energy of Thakur, aka Vivekananda, was so much that his presence could be felt from a mile, if you understand. So, imagine the person who is sitting with him. So, the German philosopher was overwhelmed. He said, "Okay, I would." And he did. After dinner, he gave him the book, which was in German language. I'm just making a point. Keep your focus intact with me, talking about focus and defocus. Vivekananda sat with that book in German language and placed his hand like this on the book, if you know. He said, he said with the book, which was in German language, and he placed his hand on the book, and he just placed his hand on the book like this, and he closed his eyes in rather a meditative state. After 1 hour, he came out of that and he told the German philosopher, "There is nothing special about this book that you are bragging about." And German philosophers thought that he's insulting him. He said, "How could you know that you don't know even the language?" I'm not talking. I do not talk, as I said to you. I am not talking fictional. I do not talk fictional to you. You see, I'm not telling you a fictional story. I'm telling you a real life event in the history. German philosopher said, I feel like I'm being insulted. You don't know the language. You went into meditation. You placed your hand on the book, which is in German language. And how do you know now that there is nothing worthwhile in the book that I was bragging about? And Vivekananda said, open the book and ask me what is on any page. And he did so, German philosopher. And Vivekananda told him, this is what's being said on that particular page in your German language. You see. The guy fell off the chair. Do you understand? The philosopher, fell off the chair and he got really weird. He thought that Vivekananda is just some type of, he can manifest a reality. He got really scared and overwhelmed or maybe even intimidated by, even though Vivekananda was not trying to intimidate or make him overwhelmed. You know what's happening here or no? You go to India, there are uh, places that you would witness miracles on the regular basis. You know that over there you would see the children, they are being taught Sanskrit and they have extreme potent spiritual insight. Over there you would see those students with no sight, means these poor children cannot see, sadly and unfortunately, but they don't make it their weakness. You would witness them reading books while they cannot see. They have no sight. Do not mark my words. If you ever get a chance to go to India, go to places like that and witness yourself. I personally have seen it. They have no sight. They are reading books. How is that happening? What did that Thakur, aka Swami Vivekananda, to that book? Once you raise your awareness, you know everything. It takes what? Non duality. It takes you do not share your focus with your mind. You listen to the content. If it is prompting you, it's just like a defense mechanism. You go and defend yourself against a situation or take care of the situation, and that's all it is. But living in it would lead you to limitless misery. You see, limitless misery, like there is no end to that misery. So make this agreement within. I am going to listen to the content. If it is useless, I would not, I would not bring my focus and share my focus with this useless and baseless thought, which is asking me to get really panic and worry. A situation does not even arise properly, we are panicked. When we are anxious, we are panicked. It puts stress on your heart. Heart is where the soul lives. You see, in Egypt, you have heard of Egypt. I think it's in North Africa. Egypt is it's a country. In Egypt, in ancient Egyptians were very wise, smart people. There is a saying in ancient Egypt: if your heart during your life is like a feather, lighter than a feather, you are going to heaven. If your heart is heavier and heavier all the time, you are going to hell. Do you understand what they are saying to you or no? In Egypt, it's a saying. What they are saying, if you live a life that you always feel like a feather, it becomes your tendency. Then your tendency magnifies and it creates heaven around you. You see, after when you shed the body. But if constantly burden on the heart, constantly, then it's a troublesome situation. A state of the being, no physical place outside. A state of the being is what heaven. A state of the being is what hell. Simple. Me, the day before yesterday, I told you that I would speak. I have been sometime working from the house, sometime I'm visiting the sites. So I have been busy earning a living, the human require you to earn a living, so we are doing just that. So I have been busy, but I keep my promise. I am as good as my words, if you understand. So I keep my words. I told you I would elaborate on this. It's significant. You learn to get panic. Do not panic. Do not bring an anxiety within you. You see, do not do any of these things. Look at the reality as it is happening. Your situation, if even if it is troublesome, is based on your karma. Whether you are panicking or you are not panicking, either way, the situation is not going anywhere. So, what part panicking is playing? It's a very simple question. Ask yourself that question. As a matter of fact, if you are not panicking, you would resolve just about any situation, no matter how difficult that is. If you just learn not to panic. Disband, you love to band, huh? Does that excite you? You become very excited. Disband. No, do not band, but disband yourself from the nasty habit of panicking. I would teach you a breathing exercise which would help you to get rid of panic. I would teach you a breathing exercise which would help you to with anxiety and even with OCD. You see, at 50, whoever I taught this exercise, after that they are more happier. You see, and they still have waged, if you know, they still have waged the war against anxiety and panic, and they are at this war, which is a great thing. I am at this war. I'm not going to give into it. They are not giving into it. There is a lot of hope for us. Divinity and sacred is working through us. So do not give up and do not be sad, by the way. Stop that, okay? This life is very small, very brief. Stop the sadness. You can do that. I would teach you. Now, when you go to, tell you to meditate, I'm sure you do meditate, which is a brilliant thing. Now, in the beginning, do this breathing exercise and then just perform regular simple kriya meditation. Okay, I will be right back. I'll give you that and then we'll perform meditation for some time. शिवा मेरे को शक्ति दे महाराज. शिवा मेरे को शक्ति दे शिवा. Okay, as I ask you always, as I ask you always to keep your focus, you know, as I ask you always to keep your focus intact. Okay, let's do it. So, what's happening? You sit as I am sitting in a meditative position. This is 5 seconds. You do not say from your mouth, you do not verbalize. That's the more articulate, that's the more proper way to say that you do not say it out loud, you do not verbalize, you know, you do not do that. But you verbalize within. You verbalize so many things within, isn't it? Somebody provoked you, offended you, you verbalize name calling. Okay, so you can verbalize this too, you see. When you can do that, you can do this. So, what happens? You sit in a meditative position. Do it in the beginning of the meditation and then retrieve yourself to basic Kriya meditation. You see, you sit. I hope I'm clear enough. You sit in a meditative state. While you are breathing in, make it last for 5 seconds. While you are breathing in, make it breathing in. While you are breathing in, make it last for 5 seconds. While you have inhaled, after 5 seconds, hold it, your chest or your breast, depending on your gender, whatever it is. You fluff your breast, you fluff your chest for others. Here you are fluffing and you are fluffing your chest, and here you are fluffing your breath for your own self. You inhale, make it last for 5 seconds. It's very simple. You hold it for 5 seconds within. What would happen? Your belly would go in your chest. You would feel it's fluffing. And then exhale, make it last for 5 seconds. Very simple, and you would see the phenomenal results in days and weeks if done correctly. You see, here, let me show you. 15 seconds, 5 seconds inhaling. Do not verbalize. Your shush, your pretty shush lips, do not verbalize through that. And then hold it for 5 seconds within. And then exhale for 5 seconds. You see. If you do not feel comfortable for physical reason, if you understand, if you do not feel comfortable, if you have health issues, physical reasons, then just do the basic Kriya meditation, if you understand. But if you are capable, if your lungs are healthy, if you are healthy, if you are a healthy human, average human, and you are capable of breathing in for 5, holding it for 5, exhaling it for 5. Do not count how many times as you can comfortably can, you see. Then I would suggest, I am never the one who would get to tell you what to do with your life, but I would suggest do it. and as comfortable as you can in the beginning of Kriya meditation. And you would see the phenomenal result. You would stop. If not, you would be less panicking. You would have less panic attack, or maybe you would be gone and you would feel less anxious. You see, it's a simple breathing technique. It's a simple breathing exercise which can bring phenomenal results. After that, when you intuitively know, intuitively, not through thinking process, that you have repeat this enough time, then you can easily retrieve back to Kriya meditation. If you have any questions or you got confused what I said about anything, you can always write me. You see, I told you working the project and stuff, but always making time for human race. Always. Just remember, I always tell you to remember the word remember. Just remember that I'm just a message away. Anytime you have any confusion, I'm at your service.